Hey everybody, Jay Glazer bringing you another episode of Guidance by Glazer. I believe it's episode 22. Oh, what's that behind me? A TV with the episode information. We are upgrading here on the Glazer team, and we are taking Guidance by Glazer to the next level. So tune in and let's talk about this week's episode. What the heck is a coop? I mean a co-op. What is a co-op in New York City and how do you buy one? I'm going to break it down and I'm going to show you exactly how you can purchase a co-op and just discuss a little bit about what a co-op is that we have here in the city, which makes buying in New York City so unique. So what exactly is a co-op? On a very practical level, a co-op is a cooperative apartment, which means you are buying shares of a corporation. So think of it like a combination between a country club and getting issued stock certificates, a stock certificate of shares of, say, IBM or Facebook or whatever you're investing in. So that's the actual literal practical definition of a co-op. But really from an everyday use perspective, the difference between a co-op and any other type of apartment in New York City is negligible. You're not going to walk down the street and say to yourself, this is a co-op, this is a condo, this is a co-op, this is a condo. You can't tell the difference between the two. So as much as buying in a cooperative is a unique experience and one that is truly specific to New York City, it's not going to change all that much about the way and the how and the why of how you live, meaning you're not going to change anything other than how you're structuring and buying into it. So basically there are, let's call it, 4 ways, if you will, of buying into a cooperative, right? So I'll break those down so that if you are a prospective purchaser of a co-op, obviously we'd love to help you, so feel free to reach out to us for that. But if you are a prospective purchaser of a co-op, there's really going to be 4 key ways you're going to structure that purchase. Now, the most logical and simple one, and the one we of course like to deal with the most because it keeps things clean and easy, is simply to buy it yourself. Meaning, when you get the stock certificate, as I said, you are buying shares of a corporation, so you get an actual stock certificate. When you buy the shares and you're getting the stock certificate, you're just buying it as yourself. You are the purchaser representing yourself, and you are putting it in your name, meaning the stock is issued in your name, and all is well. And you are funding the purchase with your own source of funding. That would be scenario number 1, and as you can imagine, the cleanest. The second one is what we call a co-purchase, and that would be purchasing with a relative. Occasionally you might purchase it with a friend, but more often than not, you're going to purchase it with your mom, you're going to purchase it with your dad, you're going to purchase it with your sister, your brother, etc. The purpose of that is because a cooperative has a set of rules. As I said, it's like a country club, and the country club has the right to turn you down. So just like that, a co-op has the right to say, we don't necessarily think you're the right fit. And the majority of the time, as much as people hear rumors, the majority of the time, the reason the co-op doesn't think you're the right fit is a financial one. They think that you might not be qualified financially to purchase in the building. Now, as ridiculous as that sounds, and quite frankly, it is ridiculous, there are a lot of pros to that setup because it does ensure and insulate the building from financial problems. One of the reasons we, as I diverge a little, one of the reasons we were so protected from the recession in 2009 is because cooperative apartments have such stringent financial requirements, and we were able to rebound so quickly in the city because most of the people in the city could afford the homes they were living in, while the rest of the country went into foreclosure. So that's really, really important sidebar, and I actually plan on talking about that next week. So we'll get into that hopefully next week. But back to the scenarios. So when you purchase along with a parent or sister or relative or friend, you're really doing that to beef up your financial profile, right? You need their liquidity position and their financial stability to help purchase the home. So that would be scenario number 2. That's what we call co-purchasing. So 2 people or more sign on the stock and lease certificate. The third scenario would be what we call gifting. Very simple. You get a gift from some source. That gift comes in the amount of a certain amount of money that goes towards the proceeds or post-close liquidity requirements of the purchase, meaning you get a couple $100,000, a couple $1 million if you're lucky. Hey, I'd love a couple $1 million. And you get to purchase the home in your name, but you get approval to use other sources of funding coming from an external source to help you with the purchase. As I said, that's called gifting. And the fourth scenario, which quite frankly we don't see very often but does exist, is what's called someone else buying for you. And that means that someone else signs their name on the stock and lease, meaning the apartment is in somebody else's name, but you are living there. And the majority of the time we see that as called parents buying for children, meaning the parent is usually the one who buys for their kid. What you'll see most often in that scenario is, say, a student, undergrad, graduate, postdoc, etc., a student who doesn't quite have the income to support themselves yet, but is using their parents to purchase a home, and therefore the parent buys it in their name, but really it's intended for the kid to live in. Now, that is a scenario that is not always done because, to my next point, the three scenarios that I just outlined, other than buying it yourself, which is co-purchasing, parents buying for children, and gifting, those three scenarios are always case by case. Now, there are buildings across New York City, and we have a very good understanding of which those buildings are, that allow these scenarios, or one or two or three of these scenarios, and there are buildings that don't allow, meaning case by case implies that these other three scenarios of purchasing a co-op are not a guarantee. So when you buy a condominium apartment in New York City, or when you buy a townhouse in New York City, or for those of you not in New York City, when you buy any other property across the world other than a cooperative in New York City, you can just buy it if you have the funds. In New York City, that is not the case. So these three scenarios are what we call case by case, meaning we have to go through every purchase setup, every purchase scenario, and every building and match the two together to ensure that it's the right fit. So as much as so many people think that they're able to purchase a home in the city by themselves, this is one of the most critically important scenarios and setups and pieces of the transaction, parts of the transaction, where we can provide so much value to you because we have the knowledge and the skill set to match you with the right building. We don't want to waste your time. Time is the most valuable asset, of which we all in the city have very little of. Therefore, when you work with us, we'll make sure that you're purchasing in the right place. Now, there are other scenarios that exist. Now, they're rare, but they do exist. We, for example, just completed a transaction where one of our clients purchased in a trust and another one purchased in an LLC. Now, we don't see that very often in a cooperative. Typically, they're fairly gun-shy about allowing someone who's not purchasing in their name to purchase. But again, if you're being guided the right way, guidance by Glazer, see what I did there? You then can ensure that you are going to be purchasing in a situation that is approvable by a co-op board. So of course, we're very open-minded about how we want to get you to the finish line, but oftentimes the co-op is not as open-minded as we are. So we're going to try to square up the scenario as best we can to ensure your approval into the co-op. So that all sounds kind of crazy, like I'm buying an apartment, I'm showing up with a check, why can't I get approved? And I'm going to tell you, it is crazy. Cooperatives are crazy, but there are a ton and tons of upside and values to living in a co-op. And rather than divulging that this week, tune in next week so that we can tell you what makes buying in a co-op beneficial. Hope that was helpful and informational. We'd love to hear your comments. Feel free to give us a shout out. Connect with the Glazer team. We'd love to hear from you on Facebook, so that's at the Glazer team. Like our page and you'll get some up to the minute news blasts from us. And then also follow us on Instagram, where we are a lot of fun and you can get sneak peeks of some of the sexy properties we have coming on the market soon. So thanks for joining us, and we'll see you again next week.